Daily Detroit is brought to you by the community. Support our work at patreon.com/dailydetroit.
We're in a neighborhood that used to have 2,500 people, and today we're down to 17 households.
That's the voice of Anna Kohn from Recovery Park. The organization works to rebuild vacant land, create jobs, and revitalize a historic Detroit neighborhood. Unfortunately, they recently went through not one, not two, but 3 thefts at their location on the east side of Detroit. But the community is rallying, and I thought it a great opportunity to check in on an organization doing important work in Detroit. So from the Podcast Detroit studios, I'm Jer Stays, and this is your Daily Detroit for Wednesday, July 24th, 2019. We'll get to our conversation with Anna right after this. Thanks to Milo for their support of the Daily Detroit podcast. Milo is a marketing agency that produces amazing experiences for audiences. They partner with their clients to drive business and create innovative content. Do cool stuff with them at milo.agency. So I started off by asking Anna, what exactly does the fancy title of Chief Impact Officer mean?
Initially, when I came on to design the social service platform, and so I was the nonprofit manager. And we decided after a period of time that we weren't there not to make a profit. We were there to make an impact. And so those titles and these words had to reflect that, because we are moving in a direction nonprofit-wise where we can't rely on grant funds forever. We need to think about innovative ways to fundraise and create revenue. So, we said, let's make an impact. Let's not worry about not making a profit.
No, that makes sense. That makes total sense. Because, that's the thing, is it takes money to do things. I think a lot of people try to do a lot of things in Detroit, and they don't realize that you have to take care of the house.
Exactly. And, one of the interesting things that I've really enjoyed seeing out of philanthropy in Detroit, particularly through places like the Fisher Foundation, are more creative ways of giving. So a lot of foundations are deploying what they're calling program or mission-related investments, which actually make it so that your impact is what creates the forgivable loan. So they make you a loan of $25,000. They say, hire 25 people, and then it will become a grant instead of a loan. And so they are able to hold nonprofits' feet to the fire as well. And it's been a wonderful way to say, hey, we're going to step up to the plate too. So, giving has to change too if we're going to be successful as these fledgling organizations.
So let's talk about Recovery Park for a little bit. Give people a level set on what exactly it is. Cards on table, I'm a little bit familiar. In my previous life, I worked with the Detroit Regional News Hub. I'm familiar with Gary, who's the big man there. But I want to have you given up an update? Because frankly, I haven't been in touch with the organization in a few years. I saw what's kind of going on. I want to give people a level set.
Absolutely. So a lot of things have been going on with Recovery Park. We've been around. We've been incorporated since 2010. Initially when Gary Wozniak, who himself is a returning citizen, which means someone with a felony background or misdemeanor background, and he's a recovering addict, so he kind of covers those areas that we want to make sure we provide social services around. So Gary had this idea to take our 2 largest assets in the city, our underutilized land and our underutilized talent, and put them together to create a public-private partnership that really would benefit the community. And so we created Recovery Park, which exists to create jobs for people with barriers to employment. A barrier could be a felony background. It could be low literacy. It could be a substance abuse issue. It could be, housing insecurity. Whatever makes a person, what they say, quote, traditionally unemployable is our workforce. Those are the folks that we know, when you bring them on and when you can develop their kind of sense of purpose, it really creates a loyal workforce, people who are dedicated to the mission and people who want to train other people to kind of love and own that mission. So what we do is we hire individuals with barriers to employment, and we launch food-based businesses on the east side. Our first business launch was Recovery Park Farms, which if you go to any of the local restaurants, you might have seen our name on the menus. We grow specialty produce for chef, which is the kind of produce you would expect to see on your plate at a fancy restaurant, but you're probably not going to find it at any kind of grocery store. So we're talking about things like edible flowers, baby carrots, actual baby carrots, not the little shaved down ones, breakfast radishes, and items that are really, really beautiful on the plate, but also have that price premium because we are a social enterprise that exists to do good. So we have an exclusive distribution agreement with Delbane Produce out of Eastern Market to buy 100% of what comes off of our farm, which is fabulous. We're very grateful to Delbane because it eliminates our need to provide logistics and marketing and delivery, of course. So it's been a great relationship. And so now, we've gotten a lot of visibility over the last couple of years, and we're piloting right now hydroponic farming. We have 2 lettuce mixes on the market right now. One is a little spicy, one is a little less spicy. They're both fabulous. And we're really focusing on that because over the next 3 to 6 months, we're going to be piloting our hydroponic glass greenhouse. So it's going to be a 2-acre greenhouse, $13.8 million. We're $125,000 away from our goal, which is fabulous. It has taken us many, many years to get to this point. We have 105 acres over on the east side that we're in control of with the city of Detroit. We've had a development agreement. We worked on that for 8 years before we were able to settle on that with the city. And, thanks to Gary's hard work going through 3 mayors, 4 city councils, he worked very hard to make sure that, we were committing to something that we could take on. We would maintain the land on the city's behalf, and then we would do a lease to purchase. So ultimately, we will have a 105-acre footprint over on the east side with Shane and Ferry as the crossroads.
There's a lot of projects in the city that are kind of a slow burn, and this seems to be one of them. But it also has a lot of impact because give people a little bit of an idea of how big that recovering population is in the city of Detroit. Because I think that's something that the city, I know the city's talked about wrestling with it. Other nonprofits have talked about wrestling with it. It's a pretty big thing. Absolutely.
One of the pieces I struggle with a lot, and everywhere I go, I talk about it, is the lack of data in this universe, is understanding, how many people who went through prison are experiencing homelessness, and of those experiencing homelessness, how many of them are insecure with transportation. So we have to look at kind of that whole picture. But in the city of Detroit, the unemployed population, 71% of the unemployed population experiences a barrier to employment. So whether they're underemployed or unemployed, it's usually, they're pulling criminal background checks and they say, no, we don't want you because, you robbed a bank 20 years ago or whatever it may be. So it's the vast majority of the unemployed population. But then you're also dealing with folks, our prisons are turning into, mental hospitals these days. And so you're dealing with a population that may have more mental health crises, more substance abuse crises. So it's really changing. But generally, it's really folks with substance abuse issues, folks with housing insecurity, and folks with criminal records.
And the news peg, and this is something that just really touched me, is that you had a bunch of stuff stolen recently, which is just not great for a group that's trying to do so much in the community. I understand it was like 3 robberies in a row?
Yeah, so over the course of 6 days, steadily every other day, we had someone breaking into our property and either vandalizing or stealing from us. So I'll kind of walk you through that timeline. So Wednesday, July 10th was the first break-in, and an individual broke through the fence in our parking lot and drilled out the lock in our shipping container where we store all of the equipment we use to maintain those 105 acres, including, mowing some of the lots for our elderly or disabled neighbors. We're in a neighborhood that used to have 2,500 people, and today we're down to 17 households. So the area itself has experienced massive depopulation.
And if you could give people cross streets so they kind of have an idea.
Yeah, so our footprint is between Shane and St. Aubin on the east and west, and then on the north and south, it's Forest and I-94.
And you mentioned that Shane Ferry Market. I mean, I've had a chance to drive by there quite a few times. You look at it and you're like, how is this not a thing, right? You think about like it being almost like a mini Eastern market.
Well, it's not a thing because it would cost $5 million to take off the roof.
Woo.
So we kind of start there. Actually, and interestingly enough, it is one of those spaces. It's like one of those cool, like, oh man, no one's been here for a while. This is cool. I want to walk around. Actually, Transformers 5 used it as one of the sites where they filmed. They brought in all the studio stuff, and they lit a car on fire and flipped it onto the roof of the Shane Ferry Market. And so interestingly enough, a little bit of the roof was reinforced, but then it was set on fire. So it's one of those places where it's like, okay, we should either rip the whole roof off and think about doing, there were ideas to do an open air garden or, a gathering space. It's just that, we exist to create jobs, and that is our number one priority. And after we do that, and once we've proven our model, we really see an opportunity to do things like mobilize some stuff at the Shane Ferry Market and use this amazing neighborhood space that we have to really bring the community together in other ways. But as to the theft, so yeah, we do maintain that 105 acres. So Wednesday, it was about $25,000 worth of lawn maintenance equipment, which of course reduces our ability to maintain the lots in the neighborhood. And then 2 days later, this was the Friday night to Saturday, our farm was vandalized. So we have our headquarters and our office on Shane and Ferry, and then down on Kirby, we have what we call our beta farm, which is 8 high tunnels or big white tents where we do our growing, our soil-based growing. And individuals came in there, they vandalized the tunnels, they took our heater, they broke our water mains, which seemed really unnecessary. They took the batteries out of our solar panels and just, general things that just felt icky. And then that same night, we also had security footage of an individual rummaging around our parking lot and scoping out our tractor, which is kind of our last expensive piece of equipment. And so, we were able to get that one on tape, and then we started taking action on that Saturday. And then on that Sunday, when we were signing the agreements with our new security company, we had left the office and our armed guard was coming in. And in those, 15 or 20 minutes, another individual broke through the back of the fence again that we had just repaired. And this was we don't believe that this person was related. This was a neighborhood person. And this individual broke into our pickup truck, stole some auto maintenance equipment, took some strange things off the truck, like the knob that controls the headlights, just some weird stuff. And, it was just one of those things where it's like, gosh, how much more can we take here? And so it was really disheartening, but the coolest thing has been, seeing how the community has come up and stepped up to help us, and folks like you, giving us that opportunity to explain what we really do and why it matters. And, we grow specialty produce, like we grow lettuce. We're not trying to offend anyone. We're not trying to do anything nasty in the neighborhood. We're really there to be part of the neighborhood. And so, that's what we're really trying to focus on now is, how do we get back to that place where we're seen as people who come in as part of the community to enhance the community and not to take over. That was never our intention.
And so to help kind of remedy this, there's a GoFundMe.
Yes. We have a GoFundMe account set up. It's gofundme.com/recoveryparkrecovery. And then we also, if you want just general information about what occurred and when, we kind of have the whole timeline on our website at recoverypark.org/theft. And you can get the link to our GoFundMe account there. You can also get a link to our Amazon wish list, which has a couple of items, because in addition to taking our lawn maintenance equipment, these individuals also took personal tools that belong to our team. And those are the sorts of things, you can't put those on an insurance policy. It's just, one of my colleagues had a ratchet set from his grandfather from 50 years ago that got taken. And, so some of it is sentimental. It's a bummer, but we're slowly rebuilding. And so the page also has our address if you prefer to send checks. And then, we're slowly and steadily moving towards the goal of getting the $25,000 back. And I'm also really grateful to a couple of different groups. So Deloitte has pledged $5,000. US Ecology has pledged $5,000. And I used to teach in the prison system at the Macomb Correctional Facility. And the Macomb Correctional Facility has something called the Prisoner Benefit Fund. So the inmates at Macomb who are making between 10 and 20 cents an hour have pooled their resources to make a $1,000 contribution to our recovery, which I feel like is the most meaningful thing.
Wow, that's just huge. And it's great to see the community outpouring. And one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on is to, highlight these works that are happening, almost like a long running joke on the show that I've always been a fan of the East Side. It's because I'm from around there. And so I always love to highlight these kind of projects. Anna Kohn, thank you so much for coming by Daily Detroit.
Thanks so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
Here are some other things to know about around town. The Oakland County Executive says they need to give raises to their non-union employees. The leader of the fiscally conservative county, Al Brooks Patterson, says that the county set up its current salary plan more than 30 years ago, and the raises are necessary to keep top quality talent. The county says it would increase payroll annually by $6.1 million across 825 positions. The plan will be submitted for review in late August. There are some changes to the Pro League and schedule the Detroit City FC is playing in this summer. The NPSL Founders Cup has been renamed the Members Cup, and the new 10-game schedule has home and away matches against Chattanooga FC, Michigan Stars FC, Milwaukee Torrent, Napa Valley 1839 FC, and the New York Cosmos. Missing from the schedule, a trip to Miami. The 2019 regular season runs August through September. We'll have a link with the full schedule in the show notes. And finally, a fun little tidbit. Since 2017, Vernor's has been highlighting lighthouses across Michigan on their cans. Well, 8 new designs for this year are being added, including Holland's Big Red and the South Haven Lighthouse. Vernor's was first made on Woodward and Clifford Streets in Detroit in 1866, and still has a place in the heart of many Metro Detroiters. All right, thanks for listening to Your Daily Detroit. I'm Jer Stays. Take care of each other, and I'll see you around Detroit.
You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.